The following is a presentation of the City of Miamisburg, celebrating its bicentennial in 2018.
Good afternoon and welcome to a very special day at Mound Business Park as we dedicate two significant markers. One to commemorate the employees who worked at Mound Laboratory, and the others to acknowledge the historical significance of this location. Where you're sitting is part of Mound Business Park, which is 306 acres of what once was Mound Laboratory. 2,500 employees, scientists, engineers, a top secret location in the city of Miamisburg. It was in operation from the 1940s until the 1990s. More specifics of what occurred during that time frame will be presented by other speakers this afternoon. Today, the same 306 acres is now a beautiful commercial industrial business park. Today, a wide variety of businesses own or lease property on the site, from scientists and engineers to the Montgomery County Regional Dispatch Center, Excelitas, the Woodworking Shop, Go Keyless, Barge Wagner, Sumner Cannon. The list goes on. Two additional buildings are currently under sales contract. One represents a data storage company. The other is a distribution company who distributes point-of-sale devices. My point is that today, the Mound Business Park is comprised of a very diverse mix of industries, and that will continue in the future. I can assure you, my company, Mound Development Corp., and my board of directors, some of the board members are here today, are committed to working with the City of Miamisburg, Montgomery County, State of Ohio, in filling the 306 acres and the buildings with more businesses who bring jobs to the City of Miamisburg. Mound Business Park is a natural place for your business, so please spread the word. It'd be much appreciated. Thank you. I'm now pleased to introduce the Honorable Mayor Dick Church, who will acknowledge some of our distinguished guests here this afternoon. Mayor?
Thank you, Eric, and welcome everyone. I would like to welcome some of the members of our City Council that are in attendance. Our Vice Mayor Mike McCabe, Councilman John Stelter, Councilman Tom Nicholas, Councilman Greg Thompson. Am I missing anyone? We have a lot of staff members here, and we also have the honor of having our state representative, Niraj Antani. And we also have Andrew Bruns, who is on the staff of Congressman Mike Turner's office, and we welcome Andrew here too. You know, as I look around the room and see some of the familiar faces, it brings back a lot of memories. I remember back in 1991, I'm going to be calling on Niraj here pretty soon, our state representative. And when I say 1991, I have to laugh because that was the year Niraj was born. But 2 weeks before I took office, the city manager was called to the site. I was at the National League of Cities out in Las Vegas, and it was announced that the Mound would be closing operations. And he immediately called me, and 2 weeks before I take office, that's how I came into office. Our biggest employer, our largest source of money, tax-wise, from this site. So, but I am proud of what we have done together at this site. We worked with the employees for the first 2 years, trying to keep the site open as it was. After that failed, then we all came together and worked very, very hard to make sure that the site was cleaned up to industrial standards. Mound has had a prominent place in Miamisburg's 199-year history, and we're proud of the role that you have played in our nation's defense during the Cold War. Cleanup and reuse was the most challenging issue in our community during my 7 terms as mayor, and one of the greatest accomplishments. And I refer to it as the small community that took on the federal government and won. And the reason I say that, back then, the Department of Energy did not work with local communities. They didn't have to. We'll use this site, 306 acres. Self-contained, they had everything, their hospitals, they had their power plants, water, everything right on site. They didn't know how to work with local communities, and as a result of that, a group called the Energy Communities Alliance was founded. 23 different sites across the country. All these communities come together because we all had almost similar situations with the Department of Energy. It was a growing tool. It was a growing tool for the communities. It was a growing tool for the Department of Energy. And out of that, I am proud of the partnership that has come together between not only this community, but other communities around the country with the Department of Energy and the United States EPA, and in our case, also the Ohio EPA. I'm extremely pleased that Ohio History has agreed with the significance of this site and is officially recognizing it with this marker, and I want to thank them for that. And I also want to acknowledge the Mound Employees Memorial, which is on site just down the hill. The employees who came to work here every day were the unsung heroes of the Cold War, and they deserve our appreciation. They were dedicated, and even after the site closed as a production site, the majority of them stayed on because they wanted to make sure that the site was clean to industrial standards. Most of them resided here in the community, continue to reside in the community, and they wanted to make sure it was done right. I do want to acknowledge the contractor, CH2M Hill, the final contractor here at the Mound, for contributing funds for the memorial. Before they left, they wrote a check for $20,000, and they wanted to make sure that the site was acknowledged, the employees was acknowledged with proper recognition. So to you, former Mound employees sitting in the audience, I say thank you, and I hope that the legacy of this site lives on for many, many years. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our state representative, Niraj Antani.
Thank you, Mayor. And one day the jokes about my age will stop, but that's okay. I think I was looking at some of the stuff and I said, oh, this is cool. And I think it was Mr. Nicholas who said he was on council and was my elementary school principal, who said, oh, did this close before you were born? I said, no, I was born in 1991. So he was like, yeah, basically. But look, I think that, this is a great day. As the mayor says, great things are happening in Miamisburg, and today is one of those days. I think history is cool. What the Ohio Historical Connection does is great. I don't know if you have not been to the actual Historical Connection headquarters in Columbus in the museum, you should really check it out. And I think someone from the Historical Connection is speaking later, and so she can talk about it more. But there's actually an interactive map that you can look at of all the historical markers in Ohio. And there's only 19 other ones in Montgomery County. And so I think this will be the 20th in Montgomery County, which I think is pretty cool, particularly because the other ones, a lot of them have to do with Charles Kettering and the Wright brothers and Paul Laurence Dunbar. And so, that this is rising to that significant, I think, is a good achievement. And so just want to give my acknowledgement and congratulations, and I think that this is well deserved. I saw some school kids walking up. I assume it was to the mountain. I thought they were coming here, but I hope that one day. I went to Bauer Elementary, but hopefully one day that the kids from kinder will walk up here and stand at the marker and will read the marker and be told about the significance that happened here. And I think that the fact that they can come to a physical place and see a physical marker and stand there and understand that this is where all of this happened, I think that makes it very real for them. And so, I hope that happens. And just want to give my congratulations to, the Mound and Mound Development Corporation and to all involved. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Bowman. I am a former Mound employee and currently a director of the Mound Science and Energy Museum Association. And to be honest, I'm a relatively short timer working at Mound. I started in 1969 and worked through the end of 1984. A mere 15 years compared to people who work 25, 30, 40 plus years at Mound. But still, I should also say I worked 2 summers here where I was undergraduate at Miami, and after I left Mound, I consulted for a while and then informally collaborated in the early 90s until Mound shut down because they had some unique equipment, parts that I was involved with that I could still use on projects when I was in California. So Mound means a great deal to me and to all the former employees. We are been dedicated for over 25 years to support the memory of Mound and what was accomplished here. And this marker is a more permanent representation of that. To be honest with you, I've been a history nerd all my life. I could do math and science, so I took a technical career. But we go out driving, I make my wife pull over many times to read historical markers and know what it was. And when we moved back from California about 10 years ago, I felt Mound Laboratory deserved its own marker in the state of Ohio. And so for the last years, we've pursued that, and now we've been given our reward, a well-deserved recognition for what Mound Laboratory was. Mound Laboratory is extinct, but it still served a role. It started right after World War II. In fact, during World War II, the initiators that were used on 2 of the nuclear explosions, Trinity test and on Nagasaki, they function with initiators of neutrons where the polonium, beryllium material, the polonium was processed as a part of the Dayton Project, a classified project run by Monsanto as a contractor for that effort. Right after World War II, the Manhattan Engineer District ended and the Atomic Energy Commission formed. The first facility that they built was the one that became Mound Laboratory. Its primary mission was to fabricate those neutron initiators for the atomic at the beginning of the Cold War. And that was Mound's role for a number of years. But by the 1950s, the technology had moved on, and the devices were now being considered obsolete. But the management at Monsanto and Mound pointed out to the Atomic Energy Commission that the Mound had specialized capability and specialized people and could play other roles. And that's what happened. We went into nuclear explosives. There's the radioactive isotope thermoelectric generator, a way to make heat, use the heat from radioactive decay to make electricity. That powers spacecraft. And the Voyager, Galileo, Cassini, all those devices, the plutonium that was used was processed here, devices were assembled here. Hundreds of people worked to allow spacecraft to go beyond Earth. Mars landers, they use those heat sources and power supply. Lunar landers, we have displays that show the kind of work that was done. So Mound evolved. Our primary purpose was weapons technology. Because of that, everyone who worked at Mound had to have a security clearance. And what we did was secret. So there were lots of rumors about what Mound did and didn't do. But the truth is, we were instructed and guidelines that it was for national security. So in relative obscurity, up to 2,500 people worked here. From our list of health physics numbers, which are their things for monitoring, we have close to 9,000 people that were employed at the Mound Laboratory over the nearly 50 years that it existed. Those people represent diversity from scientists, engineers, technicians, laboratory support people, health physics people, security guards, firemen, cafeteria workers, janitors, skilled craft people. We had women that were called small parts workers who, because of their manual dexterity, assembled explosive devices. A vast range of people were professional, dedicated, protecting the security of the United States and helping us move into space. So it's altogether fitting that we now have, at least for future generations, a marker that the next guy or the kid can say, what was that place? What was there? The markers which you see here and in the program handout list a summary of what was done. You know, our museum has been here run primarily by volunteers for more than a decade. Dayton History has taken it over. We are evolving into a different presentation, but the idea is to reach more people, to explain that this technology, while it is not completely obsolete, is being replaced, but that the legacy and the history of the people that worked here at this location were critical for decades in contributing to the security and of the United States. So with this, you know, we are very pleased that we were able to get this designation, that people will come by and see and visit the museums, visit our revamped museum that will open next year with more of an explanation of the roles that were done here at the place and the people that worked here. And for that, we thank you very much for doing that. And to represent the DOE, Sue Smiley will speak next. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sue Smiley. I'm with the U.S. Department of Energy, and I am the current site manager here at Mound. I work for the Office of Legacy Management, which is responsible for ensuring that the environmental cleanup, any kind of long-term remedies or maintenance activities continue to be performed correctly and in compliance with all the EPA requirements. I want to thank the Mound Science and Energy Museum for inviting me to help dedicate these two markers. These markers acknowledge the critical role that Mound Laboratory played after the weapons production, during the Cold War, after the weapons and nuclear energy missions ended, and then the environmental cleanup ensued, and we started working with local elected officials and trying to figure out how can we reuse this site that has so many great facilities. The hardworking, very dedicated people who worked here for 50 to 60 plus years deserve the recognition that these markers will have, and I think that will ensure that future generations understand the importance of this site and the people who made it a success. As was stated previously, Mound was built just after World War II to continue the work that the Dayton Project had done in support of the Manhattan Project, and was the first brick-and-mortar Atomic Energy Commission site in the United States. AEC is the forerunner of the U.S. Department of Energy. Those Dayton Project workers, many of them helped plan the site and were some of the very first people to occupy this facility, and that's why one of the memorials has a 1946 start date on it. The workers, over 2,500 at one time, and when I first started working here, that lower parking lot was full. I had to park in the last row at times. So they not only contributed to the success of this site, but also to the local community. They volunteered and supported churches and hospitals. They also ate at all the local restaurants, and some of those restaurants I don't think survived after this site closed down, which was a shame. I encourage you to visit the Mound Science and Energy Museum displays that are here. It's phenomenal information. You've got a bunch of MSEM volunteers here today that have a wealth of history in their brains, and they would love to share that information with you. Besides being the current DOE site manager, I have a history here too. My family moved to Miamisburg in 1963 when my father took a job with Monsanto as an electrical engineer, and my dad's in the audience, sitting right back there. And he worked here all the way through when the weapons production work ended, and then he retired. I came here in 1990 in the DOE federal office, and I was the environmental compliance manager, and within 1 year of taking the job, the site closed. However, I continued working here for the next 20 plus years, trying to help with environmental cleanup and economic reuse of the site. So I am so honored to come full circle and be back here now as the DOE site manager with the Office of Legacy Management. I've had great pleasure of working with so many people over the years, including a lot of the MSEM volunteers, members of the local community, the Mound Development Corporation, people like Eric, and local elected officials such as Mayor Church. And I just want to say thank you again so much for inviting me to help participate in the dedication of these two markers today. Thank you.
If you're looking at your program, you'll see that I'm not Becky Tilvinson. She called me this morning and said that she'd had car problems. She couldn't make it from Columbus down today, and she sends her regrets and also wanted to convey the impression of how glad they were that they were able to award the marker to Mound, because it's a competition. You have to get reviewed, and that they not only did they grant us the award, they actually gave us money toward the cost of it. So, we were given a partial support for obtaining the marker. But you're more than welcome to come anytime. One of the reasons that location was chosen was that there is a place to park, so you can get out and walk and see the marker. You don't have to park on the street. Some markers are very difficult to see. You try reading them as you drive by, it's a challenge. And we have very, very fine print, so you have to go awfully slowly to be able to read all that there. But again, on the back of your program are the markers, the text of the markers, so you can see that. If you want to stay around, we have a reception now for the next hour or so. There are a number of us who've worked here to be happy to share what information we have about our experience. Classification on most things have expired a long time ago. Unfortunately, not everything. So we can't share and tell you all the secrets that were done at Mound. Many of them are still classified secret and are not to be told. But our layout, our mission was done, and I want to, on behalf of the museum, Dayton History, and Mound Development Corporation and the City of Miamisburg, I thank you very much for attending our dedication. The marker will be there for quite a while, and I'm very pleased that we had a representative from the state of Ohio to come by. There were many officials who didn't even know Mound existed, because we did a very good job of being under the radar, doing as instructed by the national defense community. And again, thank you very much for coming, and best wishes.